I'm going to explain Sudan's war in the clearest way I can. It's a huge country with around 50 million people, and it's being ripped apart by a brutal conflict that's created the largest humanitarian crisis since records began. There are two main rival sides, and control of the country is basically split between them. The Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, control the east, north, and center, including the capital, Khartoum. They're led by General Burhan. And the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, control a large area in the west. They're a paramilitary group led by this man, who's known as Hemeti. With the way things are going, some people think this split could end up becoming permanent. And Sudan's actually been split before, when South Sudan seceded and became its own country in 2011.
This big concern and big fear that we're looking at Sudan once again dividing itself.
Now, Sudan is super diverse. There are lots of different ethnicities and tribes.
I think more than 500, and some identify as Arabs, like originally from Arab tribes, and some are identified to be African, which are closer to sub-Saharan African tribes. This is also a product of British colonization, this creation of these African identities versus Arab identities.
And that division is one of the dynamics that's playing out in this war. To understand how, you need to know about Omar al-Bashir. He was an authoritarian leader who ruled Sudan for 30 years from the late 1980s. While he was president, Bashir, who's from a Sudanese Arab tribe, was accused of favoring Arab communities from areas in the north and near the capital, giving them top positions in the state and the army, for example. That created resentment among non-Arab, or what are sometimes referred to as African communities, which are mostly concentrated in regions further away.
There has been, historically speaking, a lot of marginalization of African tribes by the elites who are mostly belong to like quote-unquote Arab tribes from Khartoum.
Now in 2003, some non-Arab groups in the western region of Darfur launched an armed rebellion against Bashir's Arab-dominated government. Bashir responded by funding militias from Arab communities in Darfur to fight the rebels. Those militias were known as the Janjaweed. Side note, the Arab communities that the Janjaweed came from were predominantly nomadic herders, whereas non-Arab groups in Darfur were typically settled farmers. And there was already competition and conflict between those communities over land and water. Bashir was accused of exploiting those divisions by arming the Janjaweed. The Janjaweed went on to carry out a genocide against Darfur's non-Arab communities, killing around 300,000 people and setting fire to entire villages.
In 2013,
Bashir's government rebranded the Janjaweed as the Rapid Support Forces, with Hemeti as their leader. So that's how the RSF came about. Remember, they're one of the two main sides in the current war. The RSF were essentially a paramilitary force under the president's control, but separate to the official army, the Sudanese Armed Forces. That's the other main player in today's war. So the RSF and SAF were essentially on the same side. They were both part of Sudan's security system under President Bashir. Then, in 2019, this happened. There were big pro-democracy protests against Bashir's government. Within a few months, the army and the RSF turned on Bashir and removed him from power. It was a huge moment in Sudan.
It's like a football match.
We're trying to get up high to show you exactly how many people are here. It's completely extraordinary.
After Bashir was gone, there was a tense transitional period when power was supposed to be shared between representatives of the protesters who wanted a civilian-led democratic government and the military leadership, which had Burhan at the top and Hemeti as number two.
There was finally a very unique window of opportunity to move towards democracy, but it was a chance that was stolen from the people of Sudan by the Rapid Support Forces and by the Sudan Armed Forces, who refused to let go.
All right, we're breaking into this program to take you live to Khartoum.
In 2021, the military, under Burhan, made a power grab and abandoned the power-sharing deal with the civilian groups.
And it's really the coup of 2021 that led us down this road to war.
A power struggle then developed between Burhan and Hemeti, especially over plans to merge the RSF into the Sudanese armed forces.
Obviously, this is something that would have threatened Hemeti's power.
The disagreements between them became so much by April of 2023 that they both thought that the only way to figure this out was to eliminate the other.
And that's how the war started. First in Khartoum, then spilling into other parts of the country. Tens of thousands of people have been killed and more than 12 million people have been displaced. Both sides have targeted civilians. Sexual violence is being used as a weapon of war. There have been outbreaks of famine, and nowhere near enough aid is getting in.
This war has just brought nothing but heartbreak, nothing but loss, nothing but, death.
It's been especially violent in Darfur and areas of Western Sudan, where the RSF has been trying to consolidate its power. It now controls the whole of Darfur and has been pushing east. There have been intense battles between SAF and the RSF in North and West Kordofan. And as the RSF has taken more and more territory, we've seen a horrific pattern of atrocities carried out by its fighters. The RSF have cut off food and water supplies to cities, trapping thousands of people. There have been massacres of non-Arab communities in places like El Geneina, where the UN says up to 15,000 people were killed. And more recently, we've seen targeted killings in Al Fasher. RSF fighters have even been posting videos of their killings online.
So I'm in a bus station turned into a displacement camp for people coming from Al Fasher. Just like one horror story after another, one depressing story after another.
القتل فيه الجثث فيه
لانه بتلقى جثث واقع جثث بتاعت ناس جثث بتاعت اطفال ملابس بتاعت ناس مدغولات مستندات بتاعت ناس مدغوله في الشارع يعني الشارع والله تقدر تقول زي الافلام المخيفه دي يعني.
And remember, the RSF emerged from the Janjaweed, the group that committed genocide against the same tribes in the same region 2 decades ago.
One way I've heard someone describe it is that they are just doing the job they started in the early 2000s. They are just completing the genocide they began.
In fact, the US has already declared that the RSF's actions in Darfur since 2023 amount to genocide. Now, after those videos emerged of RSF fighters executing people in Al Fasher, the RSF leader Hemeti said there would be an investigation, and one commander was arrested. But many analysts see it as a PR stunt.
A form of twisted accountability, performative accountability, where one commander is essentially arrested, but the thousands of militiamen that were involved in the onslaught on Al Fasher essentially walk away scot-free.
I don't think anyone sees any credible pathway to accountability through the RSF.
Now, another aspect to this war is the role of outside players who are providing political support and in some cases, weapons to the competing sides. One of SAF's main backers is Egypt.
For the Egyptian government, their interest is to have a modicum of stability in Sudan, and in that they draw on a government, the last kind of legalized government that you have, which is the Sudan Armed Forces.
But mostly it relies in terms of weaponry on Turkey and Iran, and as well as Egypt.
On the RSF side, one of the main players is the United Arab Emirates, the UAE,
which denies support to the RSF, but is well known to be the RSF's main backer.
The RSF relies mainly on the United Arab Emirates for political and military support, but it also relies on a network of different states and sort of authorities in the region surrounding Sudan that are very close to or allied to the United Arab Emirates.
A report from Amnesty International found that the conflict is being fueled by an almost unimpeded supply of weapons to both forces. It found evidence of weapons from Turkey, Russia, Serbia, China, Yemen, and the UAE. Keep in mind, there is supposed to be an international ban on sending weapons and ammunition to Darfur because a UN arms embargo has been in place since 2004. Another thing fueling the war in Sudan is gold, which both sides are using to fund their fight, to buy weapons and supplies like food and fuel. Gold can be found all over Sudan, It's a multi-billion-dollar trade and the most significant source of income for both SAF and the RSF. Sudan borders 7 other countries, and it's thought that gold is being moved out through many of them.
So we have other armed groups, producers, traders, smugglers, neighboring governments much further afield, and this makes a real network or networks that come together to sustain the war.
So this war has evolved well beyond a feud between 2 generals. There are billions of dollars worth of commodities at stake and so many players. And now we're looking at both sides trying to entrench their authority in places they control. Both SAF and the RSF have actually set up rival governments in Port Sudan and Niala.
It's just really important to stress that none of these 2 governments have full legitimacy. One of them was born out of a coup against the civilian government and the aspirations of the revolution, and the other one, came out of mass killing and murder and ethnic cleansing of the Sudanese people.
I often talk about this not as a civil war, but a counter-revolutionary war, a war against civilians, a war punishing civilians for the audacity of trying to have, their own kind of government.
There has been diplomacy going on to try to bring an end to the war, at least to pause fighting and get aid to people. That's been led by a group of countries known as the Quad, the US, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. But attempts to reach a diplomatic solution so far haven't succeeded.
There are talks of a peace agreement between the army and the RSF, but when you look at the time that this mediation comes and you look at the map, if such mediation or if such a peace materializes, then the RSF is not going to want to give up its area of control. If you already have power, why share it with someone else?
We recently went to Syria to make a film on how the country is fighting for justice after more than 50 years of dictatorship and war. You can watch it here.